Hauka e peña mati pe cham. Menyo wea. Pe nyo we kuyupi nyo we pampi ni kanap. Ni maya khan ni wa chunyet. Ni kanap mayum nyo we nyuup. Pe yi ti pe ni makek. Ana Gloria Rodriguez. Mat perhau kaman. Nyopum Norma Mesa. Nahi kaman. Nyopum Gil. La Huerta kaman. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stan Rodriguez. I'm from the Santa Isabel Band of the Ipai Nation. And we're here. This panel that we have today is a presentation on the missions of Baja, resistance and destruction. We'll be talking about the missions as we go down the peninsula all the way down to La Paz. So in this panel today, we have Kumyai from, we say Matkek, the other side of the border. We have Ana Gloria Rodriguez. She is Kumyai from the San Jose de la Zora Reservation. Norma Mesa, she is Kumyai from the Neji Reservation. And Gilberto, I call him hermano, my brother over here. He is from the La Huerta Reservation. So we're all going to be sharing about the things that have happened on the other side of the border and also on this side. We'll be talking in English, we'll be talking in Kumyai, and we'll be talking in Spanish. We have translators here to help. So, let us begin. Oh, real quick, the picture that you see here is the mission that is over by La Misión, the one that was attacked by Hot Nir, or Black Dog. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about that. The missions in Baja and Baja Sur. So when we talk about the critical mission studies, one of the things we've been focusing on is Alta California. However, many people don't realize that before encroachment came into our area, Baja and Baja Sur, I mean, they were the targets of missionization in the territories. A lot of people don't really understand what was the reason for the missions. Now, when the Spaniards first came, I have to say this, that when we talk about the conquistadors, the Spaniards were not conquistadors. They never had the numbers to take our people out. What they were masters at was manipulating, pulling one group against the other, and using them to fight their battles. And then the Spanish would go in and clean it up. And then the other thing that the Spaniards were good at doing is consolidating that power. When we talk about the civilizations that were in Mexico and Peru and all these other places, like the Inca, the Aztecs, and I just got to say, Mike Conley Mishquish, he wrote a paper on this. It was an excellent paper. I learned a lot of that from Mike over here. He's right here in the back having a drink. But I just want to say, Chachaya Khan, we praise you for what you brought out. So anyway, one of the things is, the societies, like the Mexica Society or the Incan Society, these were centralized governments. So they had a caste system, the ruling caste, the middle caste, and then the servant caste or the slave caste. So what happened was that people were used to sending the wealth up to the ruling caste, and the ruling caste would then divvy it out. That's how things were traditionally done. So when the Spaniards were able to overthrow these governments, one of the things that they did was they took the daughters of the head people, like Montezuma's daughters, and they kept them as wives. So the people were used to sending that money up, and since the wives were Mexica or other different groups, they were used to that coming up. The problem with that is the Spaniards would send most of the wealth to Spain. So the people were I mean, it was getting more and more difficult just to survive. I mean, it was really difficult for them, hard for them. The other thing that the Spaniards would do is they would get the warriors of the people that were defeated and use them. Remember when the Spaniards first came, they fought against the Tlaxcala. You know this. Then the Tlaxcala became the allies of the Mexica. And then later on, when the Mixton War took place, and this was just a few years, but they were almost able to defeat the Spaniards. The Spaniards used Tlaxcala and Mixteco warriors to attack. After they took over Mission, or that wasn't the name of the tribe. What was it, Kashkan? Kashkan. After they were able to overthrow the Kashkan, they used the warriors in the next battle, which was the Chichi Mecca War. And this lasted about 40 years. Spaniards were almost defeated in this. But one of the things that happened, one of the problems that they were having, the Spaniards were having, was these governments were not centralized like they were used to. You could take out one chief and then somebody else would come up. Man or woman, didn't matter. They would take up the fight. And they were much more fluid. They would move up and down wherever they went in their areas. So the Spaniards devised a system using the missions. So they weaponized the missions. And they used that to put down people. So when they came into the Californias, they had owned that system. And you've heard some of the atrocities, some of the horror stories of what took place at the missions. You heard some of these things. How they would take the children, and the mothers would want to be with their children, then they would take the women. And the men had their families there, so the men would go in there. So they would separate the men and the women. That's how they would control. So anyway, these were some of the things that were happening. You see, all the missions that were here in Baja and Baja Sur. Next one, please. So the native people whose land was impacted by the Spanish encroachment in Baja and Baja Sur were the Kumeyaay, the Cocopa, not too much the Cocopa, but the Pai, Quiliwa, Cochimín, Monqui, Guaycura, and the Pirikou. All the way at the bottom was the Pirikou. Go ahead, next one, please. So the Kumeyaay reside on both sides of the international border. You know, this is the traditional territory of our people, and the reservations in the United States are Barona, Campo, Quillapay, Iña Cosmet, Hamul, La Posta, Manzanita, Mesa Grande, San Pascual, San Isabel, Sequan, Viejas. There's also Captain Grande, the Laguna Reservation, and parts of Paula, or Ipay, from San Felipe or San Isabel. And also Fort Yuma has Desert Kumeyaay over there. So our area spread all over, from the valleys to the mountains to the desert to parts of the Colorado River. Next one, please. So Neji, do you recognize that lady? Norma, usted es muy famosa. Gordita. Mishib, Chahayhan. Okay. And then Kumeyaay and Baja. Here's another famous person, another warrior. Where'd you get that mask, Marta? Anyway, the Kumeyaay reservations in Baja, or comunidades indígenas, ¿verdad? ¿Sí? Ejidos indígenas. Okay. La Huerta, La Necua, Neji, and San Jose de la Zora. Neji being the closest to the border, just right across from Bayalongo. Mm-hmm. And even, watch this, they're going to get mad. They say there's 4. I say there's more. A ver, tienen otras comunidades Kumeyaay, ¿verdad? San José de Tecate, Guaje de las Tunas, Peña Blanca.
Nhám te pe ya wat khwak mok nhám wat noi.
Nhếp thì Neji.
Khi te pe so nhoi.
How? Y también, and I'm going to start talking Spanish again. So, also, past La Huerta, Santa Catarina, Pai, Pum, Coahuas, Kumeyaay. Kowash kumyai. Tipea kwar ha. Puk. Ha. These are, and also Santa Catarina, they're Pai, and Kowash kumyai. They don't like calling themselves kumyai, but they talk the way that we talk, with an accent. Anyway.
Kowash.
And Kowash means the red painted ones. And then San Jose de la Zora Matperjau. Okay. So La Huerta, this is the grandmother of Gilberto Teodora Cuero. So she was very famous. She was the leader of that community. She was one of the head people out there. Next one. And then San Jose de la Zora. This lady who's here, Gloria Castañeda, she was a cultural leader of her reservation, fluent speaker, along with Teodora Cuero, both of them fluent speakers in the language. They were both singers. When usually it's a men who will sing, but when none of the men were singing, they picked up the rattle and they kept it. This lady is also Martha's mother. So she's the one that taught Martha how to make baskets, along with Martha's grandmother and great-grandmother. She passed that knowledge. She was the one that taught me the creation story. We would sit together and she would tell me these things. Incredible people. And I asked, why are you using the rattle? I mean, why do you do it? It's supposed to be a man's instrument. And she said, she's singing it because she does not want these songs to die. Said as soon as a young man steps forward, she'll teach him those songs and pass that rattle to them. And that's what they, that's what they did. Martha, did you want to say anything about that?
No.
Okay. Bill Ma. Okay. Continue, please. The missions that were in Kumeyaay territory, Misión El Descanso, Misión Guadalupe, Misión San Miguel de Arcángel de la Frontera. That sounds pretty cool, huh? Misión Santo Tomás de Aquino.
Arcángel de la Frontera.
So these are some of the missions that were in Kumeyaay territory. Now, how many of you are going with us tomorrow? Okay, we're going to go and see one of the missions that was attacked and burned down by the Kumeyaay. It's pretty much been left there. And they're going to be talking about that. Now, do you see these people who are... Norma, Chad, Nyepti Pecha, Ima, Mokenyue.
Up to.
Kubu.
Mamá. No se puede mirar.
My Pecha.
¿Cuál fue?
Madmed.
Nitel.
Ha.
Nitel.
Ipa, ¿no?
Ipa.
Y Tipe. Tipe, Ima. Map.
Oh, yeah. Huh.
Pugnaches Mayuma, Nevada Nyepo Mash, Tecate. Okay.
The Peñut.
How?
Wakur.
Next one, please. Then the missions in Pai territory, Mission Santa Catarina, Mission San Vicente, and the mission in Santa Catarina, this was one of the ones that was burned down by Pai and Kowash Kumeyaay. Gilberto, antes usted visita donde tiene misión, en Santa Catarina.
Sí.
Los Pai y Kowash ataque.
No existe la misión ya. No
¿Pero
hay.
pedacito?
No,
No,
no más, ¿verdad?
no más.
A what? Okay. And the Pai speak a human language very similar to Yavapai. So they speak like the Yavapais. As a matter of fact, they came from up north. They came down the Colorado River. And that's a story, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, next one. The Kiliwa. And the Kiliwa, they live in the reservation Arroyo Leon. And they used to have a singer. Ahorita no tienen más cantadores, ¿verdad?
No.
Pero antes de Trinidad o Chute.
Sí, hoy no, yo no. Jóvenes, 2, 3.
Jóvenes, pero ellos saben cómo lo hacen porque cantar parece Trinidad.
Poquito.
Poquito.
Bien.
Okay, did you all understand that? Poquito. All right. So Trinidad Ochute was the lead singer for his reservation. The Kiliwas only have one reservation. The Pai Pais, ¿cuántos reservas en Tiquila? Los Pai Pais tienen 3.
3.
3. And the Pai Pais is Santa Catalina, San Isidoro, and Hamao. Okay. And the Kiliwa is Arroyo Leon. One of the problems that they've had over in the Kiliwa reservation is a lot of people sold their land. It's different over there. Not like the reservations over here where you cannot sell it. Over there they have the hectarios, and they can sell it. But anyway, I used to hear this man sing. I loved listening to his singing. He was a great singer. Okay, and these were the missions that were in Kiliwa territory. Next one. And then the Cochimi. One of the things about the Cochimi is their land was huge. And there was a reason why their territory was so large. Because they had very little resources there. Allá en la terreno, los Cochimí, es puro desierto, ¿verdad?
Todo el desierto, ¿no? Se supone que es Cuchimí.
Ajá.
Pero lo que es de ellos es solamente los límites de la misión, ahorita en la actualidad. No más, solamente la misión.
La misión.
No más.
En Santa Gertrudis.
Es Santa Gertrudis.
¿Y San Borge?
¿Dónde están?
San Borja, la misión
San Borja.
San Borja.
Ajá. Pero también es igual, solamente los límites de la misión es lo que tienen hoy.
Ajá, kidnapping.
So the people who own the land is just around the mission. That's the only thing they have right now available for them.
So almost all their land was taken away. And if you notice, look how many missions were put in Cochimi territory. These people were devastated. They were devastated out there. So, have any of you ever been to San Francisco de la Sierra? Beautiful, the rock paintings out there. The history going down into the canyon. A lot of history out there. And I just want to say, we've gone down to that area. We've gone to those reservations. And one of the things that we noticed, like the people who are sitting here, I'll just say the Kumeyaay people, we still have our song cycles. People still sing. Paul Cuero over here, lead singer, in Tokok, bird songs. Jamie is a singer in San Jose de la Zora, Queñume, wildcat singing. Other different kinds of song cycles. Norma, I think your son, su hijo, canta, ¿verdad?
Y nieta.
Ajá. Oh, Pamuch,
Juak.
Hobak, Chiyo, Madmer, Juan Carranza, Shkuya, Mau,
Not.
Puk Puk.
Uh-huh.
The one who taught me how to sing, he was Kumeyaay from Baja. And he also taught her grandchildren how to sing, 2 of her grandsons. So all these song cycles are still being used, but you leave Kumeyaay and Pai Pai and Kiliwa territory, the narrative changes. The Cochimí, we went down there, and no one speaks. ¿Cuántas personas habla Cochimí? Nadie. Una persona sabe frases, ¿verdad? Poquito. Allá en Guerrero Negro. Más o menos. Pero muy poquitos.
De los registros de los misioneros.
So there's a man, he's Cochimí, he's in Guerrero Negro, which is on the border of Baja and Baja Sur. And he knows a few phrases, but for the most part, the language is dormant. I'm not going to say extinct because the people are not extinct, but the language is dormant. And the traditional songs are gone. Nobody sings them. When we went down to Santa Gertrudis, which is the mission over there, one of the old men was talking about how none of the young people are learning the songs and picking up the instruments. And we said, well, what kind of rattles? He goes, no, the violin. So they had already, there'd always been a shift. And it appeared to be more like Sonoran Catholicism, kind of like what the Yaquis do with the matachin and things like that. So anyway, all these missions were in this area. And I'm sure you've been to a number of those missions out there. The next one, please. Monkey. I call them monkeys. Monkey. The mission of San Juan Bautista Lugi. They said that this group and the Guaycura spoke a language similar. We don't know because there's nobody around anymore. Nobody around that follows this culture. Next one. Guaycura. This was below the Cochimí, a larger group. These were the missions, Misión Nuestra Señora de Pilar and Misión Santa Rosa de las Palmas. Now the Guaycura and the Pirikou fought against encroachment. They fought against the Spaniards. They are not here as a tribal group anymore. Most of them died out, and most of it was due to diseases brought in. It was the diseases that took out many of our people. And then the last one, the Pirikou, Misión Esteros de las Palmas. And the Pirikou, are at the tip of Baja Sur. And one of the first Spaniards to meet with them was Hernan Cortez. And remember, he's the one that's credited with taking down the Mexica Empire. And he said this group was the most fierce fighters he had ever come up with. As a matter of fact, they ran them off the land, the Pirikou people. So this speaks to the warrior nature of our people, that we did not just allow things to happen, that we did fight back. So this is just a little bit of a narrative of Baja and Baja Sur. So now what I would like to do is I would like to take it to our subject matter experts from Baja. Listos. Mai pecha. Mat ni hepo.
Norma.
Norma.
Nyache.
How? Quema.
Auka. Nyap. Nor nyap si mus miskuis has nyanishi. Nyat pi man diun matu ha wawi. Pil hikut shit. Nahi with she. The cat hilpay wa mat hilpay. Ni man diu. Nya what? Sas. May the pay hikut hap nyakor with Franciscano with hikut with padres. The hap taniu the pay. A what do? Nyapa miui tua hua hat kunyil hui caballo negro wi perro negro hikut Malay caballo negro ship nip shimus uji kwaha to waju kwaha nip tapat knat uji sacerdote kiti hap homo ya wap nua ya wat nat ti wil tanwa nyama what to what ya wat pilkhimi nyoi sa wai pilkhimi mat show sa wai ya wat mat ko tay show nipe ya wap ti pe ni wa marbo panteon ko namo show ta nyoi sa wai nipe nyap na mak tempau kenap hikut ayip tu ayip ipa mu ipa e hanam kerkwara o kikuwa kerkwar mu ipa ayip akat tu ipat ak sui tu khel ta yip tu eran sacerdote wi iglesia shin show taniu jom ipat taniu hat kunil wi yu tanwai kis mai wi tu wa tu ku shin tu wa nipit i han ma wa ipat pia yip chumukhai homo kerkwar suyo homo ti pia khikwa suyo homo ti pia nyam kerkwar tanwa yu nyawa miui ti wi tanwa khoi ot matamar yam khap homo show tanwa kana nyawa pi nyoi mer nyoi ha nyawa ti pe nyakor pues khikut tanwa khap homo pi nyoi sawa pit nyoi ti pe kerkwar nyawa ti mai kha supay homo di virgen with kunama hikuta hap Guacho, pa, como piljacual, ni mit, pero aguay, piñuey. Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Normalicia Mesa Calles, Mesa Calles, Anishiñat, Mishquish, Cuijas, Clan, Wichway. En mi comunidad platican que mi tata platicaba que nunca entraron los señores. Llegaron 2, no sé en qué año. Ahí está una misión que nos desbarataron. Allí existe, pero nadie sabe porque nadie tiene que ir a invadir terrenos de nuestra comunidad.
Okay. Can you guys hear me? Yeah.
Talk louder.
Huh?
Talk louder.
Oh, okay. So Norma Mesa, she's saying, well, she's the Norma is the Mishquish clan, and then from Ha'a, no? From Ha'a. Well, that's another part of the same reservation, Nehi. So Nehi is like the big reservation, but they have like the small like villages inside Nehi, I guess, right? Como comunidades dentro de Nehi, ¿no?
Es toda una comunidad.
Es toda una comunidad, pero like. So where she from is Ha'a.
Mi abuelo dijo que vinieron 2 hombres vestidos de mujer, cargando un burro, y venían hablando, traían un intérprete cumiay de San José de la Zorra, pero tampoco sabía mucho español.
Okay, Norma said that her grandfather told her that 2 men dressed as a woman, they came to her community, and that somebody from San Jose that was the interpreter. But he didn't know that much Spanish neither, but they was with them.
Lo traían de traductor y él hizo, en Jaá los sacerdotes hicieron una iglesia. Tienen una piedra, hicieron su ulípulo, ¿cómo se llama? Chichis, que bueno, ahí está todavía. Y dice que y el intérprete, como no sabía mucho hablar así, que está igual que yo, y dice que ponía toda la tribu aquí y el señor aquí parado, el señor vestido de mujer, y les decía pues, y ellos preguntaban qué decía, y el señor, el intérprete dijo, quiero que ustedes se bañen porque ustedes son sucios, que ustedes son feos, y por eso mataron a los sacerdotes.
Okay, Norma saying the 2 men came, when they came to the community, they built, I guess it was the mission, and then they put like a rock so they can be like the table, you know, when they put the holy water and all that. And then so they gathered all the people from Nehi, and they were telling like, you know, you guys need to, you have to, when they do the baptism, I guess, you know, they said they would put water on you so we can wash because you're dirty and ugly, so all that kind of stuff. So people were getting angry about that when this guy was saying that.
Por eso estaban muy enojados pues la tribu, las familias estaban enojadas porque no le entendían al sacerdote, que quería bautizarlos, pues. Entonces para echarle el agua decían que estaba sucio, pero no era bautizar, no sabían qué eso era.
So yeah, they didn't understand. So people, whoever was talking to them was saying like, "Oh, you guys are dirty," but I guess because they don't know how much to say it in the language, I guess, so they don't understand what it was the concept of the baptism. That's why they thought like, "Oh, they need to take a shower because they're dirty" or something like that.
Y ya no salieron los vestidos de mujer de allí, los señores. Y ahí existe todavía, pero nadie conoce la misión perdida que les llamamos nosotros. Pues, esos que se vayan.
They say they call it the lost mission because nobody really knows where is that. I mean, they know, but the mission is not exist anymore, but they still have the rocks in there.
Ahorita en el tiempo, algunos que mexicanos, pues, han estado escarbando en esa parte de la iglesia, pero está hecho de pura piedra labrada para guardar los santos y aquí para una mesa de piedra. Escarban para buscar si había oro. Van y escarban, hacen, pues ahí lo dejamos que hagan.
So Norma said that some people come to the community and start digging up, trying to find, treasures or something like that. But I mean, I guess they're hiding into the rocks.
Y también mi comunidad, después de que se fueron, nomás entraron, se fueron, ellos vivieron bien a gusto, con sus usos y tradiciones. Por eso, gracias a ellos, yo soy todavía con la tradición Kumiai. Por la lucha que han estado ahí escondidos. Es un cañón donde se escondieron.
So Norma said her people is kind of like in Kenya, kind of hiding over there, and that's why that she said, thank you to that, she's still here because, they don't get into the religion or nothing like that.
Yo aprendí español a los 13 años porque hicieron escuela bilingüe indígena, INI en aquel entonces, y pues pero sí aprendí español, estoy estudiando español para ser intérprete, para buscar, para que no se pierda la lengua Kumiai en los jóvenes, porque muchos jóvenes están perdiendo la lengua por los estudios que ya se van a estudiar otra parte.
Norma saying that she learned how to speak Spanish when she was 13 years old. 13, no? 13 years old, and I mean she's still studying. And then she says it's very important because to keep learning, because a lot of the kids they go to school and they forget about the language or the Kumiai culture.
Y el gobierno mexicano ha querido desaparecer nuestra cultura, nuestras lenguas. Y cuando hicieron la escuela bilingüe, donde me llevaron a mí a enseñarme español, trajeron muchos Kumiais que estaban por fuera para que nos enseñaran Kumiai, o porque no querían nada Kumiai, que hablaran Kumiai. Y eso fue genocidio, porque en ese momento ya casi toda juventud ya habla mucho más español. El Kumiai ya lo habían dejado, pero ahorita estamos volviendo a rescatar, pero que es un poco difícil.
¿El español? ¿Trajeron gente de Kumiai?
Kumiai, pero que no sabían. En vez de ir con nosotros a aprender Kumiai, lo llevaron para que nosotros dejáramos que hablaran, que nos enseñaran el Kumiai a nosotros, español, y no ellos aprender el Kumiai. Y eso fue hace 20 años.
¿Se entrenaron a los Kumiai para que enseñaran español?
No.
¿O cómo?
Fue impuesto, pues trajeron gente de afuera para que nosotros habláramos español.
Pirikou?
Ja.
Okay. Norma, she's saying the government that they're trying to do, to do the genocide with the culture and the language, they bring people outside of the community so they can go and teach the people over there. But that's why a lot of the students, they start losing the language and the culture, because that's part of the plan of the government to the intent of genocide.
Mi comunidad sigue intacta, todo, pues para mí me gusta mucho estar todavía en mi comunidad, que todavía estamos allí.
She said my community is very intact still, very natural, open, and she said she really liked to be there.
Allí no tenemos iglesia.
So we don't have church in there.
Y sabemos lo que es respeto y amor hacia la naturaleza, y vivimos muy felices porque sabemos que hacemos el bien. Ninguno nos va a venir a decir que la iglesia para nosotros no sirve, pero para nuestra edad, y jóvenes también ya están enseñándose que las iglesias fueron impuestas.
So Norma saying that they don't have a church in the reservation, so they're very, they learn how to be connected with the nature, and that's what she said, we don't need a church. And then they're very respectful too of the nature, and then so a lot of the kids, they're learning too that they don't need to have a church in the community to have, basically God in our lives, my heart. She's saying that's it.
Mahan, mi po Maya.
Okay. Yo no voy a hablar de una misión en específico, ¿no? A lo largo, pues, de todo el territorio, tanto de Baja California Sur, Baja California donde estamos nosotros ubicados, y aquí mismo en California, como bien lo mencionaba Stan, pues nuestros ancestros sufrieron muchos, pues grandes atrocidades, ya conocemos, ya están registradas las mismas, ¿no? Nuestra población se redujo, nuestra gente soportó el maltrato. Los recién llegados traían una cruz en la mano, pero detrás traían una espada con el cual pues quitaron muchas vidas de nuestros ancestros. Eso fue con la fuerza, con el hierro, con el filo de la espada, pero también trajeron algo que a lo mejor los mismos no sabían, que eran las enfermedades que desafortunadamente se ocasionaron grandes epidemias y redujeron pues significativamente el número de nuestra gente. Podemos seguir, igual habrá muchos espacios, o más bien hay pocos espacios donde no se ha hablado de esto, que además pues es una oportunidad única, porque bueno, siempre la razón está de qué lado, ¿no? De los descendientes de esas familias, de los religiosos, de los académicos, y podremos seguir explorando eso, pero la historia de los indios, la historia de los indígenas no se menciona. En ese sentido, yo me voy más a lo actual, ¿no? De cómo podemos seguir enumerando momentos trágicos, el cual nos haría falta mucho tiempo para poder seguir mencionando, ¿no? Quiero pasar a lo actual, cómo estamos, cómo seguimos. Ya desde estos sucesos pasaron hace mucho tiempo, pero aún todos esos efectos de lo que fue la conquista, de lo que fue el contacto con los misioneros, se sigue en la actualidad. ¿Y cómo se sigue? Bueno, hay muchos académicos, muchos fanáticos que siguen hablando de la grandeza de los misioneros. Siguen hablando que hubo un contacto muy bonito, mucha armonía, educaron a todos los grupos que se ubicaban en toda esta península. Y bueno, sus relatos han sido los mejores, ¿no? Pero la historia que no se ha contado es la de nosotros, ¿no? Es historia de los Kumiai, de los Pai Pai, de los Cucapá, de los Kikapú, de los Cochimí, todo hacia abajo no se ha contado. Lo han dejado a un lado y le han dicho, esta historia no se debe de contar porque no les conviene. No les conviene que se mencione que se mataron gente, que mataron niñas, que mataron personas ya en edad avanzada. Eso no se va a mencionar jamás. Y entonces nosotros, como parte de toda esta lucha, tanto Norma, Marta, Stan y varios compañeros allá en Baja, igual Gregorio, nos hemos dado a la tarea de tratar de combatir todas esas acciones que se realizan. Por ejemplo, el Camino Real de las Californias. Unir un camino real que para nosotros significa el camino de las muertes de los grupos indígenas en Baja California, tanto Baja, Alta y Media, a Sur. Eso es celebrarlo. Eso es parte del reconocer la grandeza de las misiones, que no hubo grandeza, hubo destrucción, hubo muerte en las comunidades. Eso es básicamente como nosotros pues queremos igual este tema, pues creo que es la primera ocasión donde nos permiten hablar sobre este tipo de las atrocidades que se cometieron en ella. Seguimos yendo a recorridos, seguimos yendo a las representaciones que realizan los mismos fanáticos, donde muestran la grandeza del contacto. Se siguen haciendo. En Ensenada nosotros somos pocos y seguimos un pueblo, una comunidad muy pequeña, pero cada momento aprovechan para poder engrandecer esas acciones, ¿no? Nosotros nos hemos dado a la tarea pues de poder seguir atacando esas acciones, aun cuando nos hemos expuesto a comentarios racistas, comentarios discriminatorios, pero no importa, ¿no? Nosotros como nuevas generaciones, como personas que seguimos en este andar, debemos de utilizar todas las herramientas, tanto los foros académicos, las nuevas tecnologías para la difusión de la grandeza cultural de las culturas en estos territorios, ¿no? Otra de las cosas que se me olvidaba mencionar, dicen los fanáticos, los académicos, que los grupos humanos, de los grupos que estamos en estas partes, no conocíamos nuestro territorio. Lo siguen mencionando, y yo lo escuché en un fanático en Ensenada, un escritor que escribe muchos libros, dice, es que los Kumeyaay no conocen su territorio, no conocen bien su casa, ¿cómo van a conocer el territorio donde están? Lo siguen mencionando. Esa es parte todavía de la discriminación que existe en torno a lo que es las misiones. La historia de nuestra gente, la historia de nuestros ancestros debe ser contada desde nosotros, con aquellas personas que nos pueden ir ayudando, que conozcan el entorno, como son los investigadores, como son las personas que se han preparado también. Son aliados, desde luego, pero la historia debe ser contada desde este lado, desde adentro hacia afuera, nunca de afuera hacia adentro, porque eso de adentro para afuera destruyó muchos conocimientos y muchas prácticas que se realizaban anteriormente, ¿no? Nosotros aquí seguiremos trabajando, igual seguiremos acudiendo a lugares, demostrando la riqueza y decir que los Kumeyaay, que los Pai Pai, que todos los grupos indígenas en este territorio seguimos y aquí estamos y aquí estaremos en resistencia todo el tiempo, ¿no? Es parte de lo que he querido compartirlo, pues gracias por su atención. Jai Han.
Okay. Yeah, I would try to do my best to say
I want to hear
what
this.
Gilberto was saying. Yeah, okay. So he was saying, I say, how can everyone? And he said, I would not talk today about all the missions in Baja California Sur or California. So he would just say, he said a lot of things happened with, when the Spaniards came and the missions came, they just, a lot of the intent of genocide happened, in the communities, and we all know already all the bad things happened, the killing of a lot of people, even kids, and girls and boys, very young kids and stuff like that. They were slaves, and all that part. He said, I don't want to start talking about that right now. But really what is going on in how the Camino Real, people, like in Mexico, they were doing the Camino Real very strong, and they don't want to, they just want to sugarcoat the history, and then they don't want to say about, they don't want to talk about really what happened. They would just sugarcoat the whole thing, and then, and he say, and this is how it's very important, the Native people talk about the Native issues, from inside to outside to the other world, to have the Native, how do you say?
Voice?
Yes, yeah. Because a lot of times, a lot of academics, they put whatever they want or whatever they think that's what's going on or what happened, and they kind of disturb the whole history. So that's why it's very important to be working together. And to
Have a voice.
To have a voice and talk to the people, about what happened, and a lot of things too. That Gilberto was saying, we don't have opportunities to talk about this kind of stuff. There's always the academics, people talk about the people. Oh, the natives this, the natives that, but they never give it the opportunity of people to talk and to say the own story. And I think that's very important to do because it's our people and that's what happened to us. So it's very important to us to say what happened. And then, oh my gosh, I can't remember anymore. So yeah, they said, Gilberto says a lot of people they really love the history of the conquistadores and stuff like that. And they do more emphasis in that instead of the native people. You will see conferences, so they honor the Spaniards, so the soldier Spaniards, they need to be honored, and they do big ceremonies. And like you guys see too, they have a lot of big statues all over the place. But where is the native statues? There's nothing like that. So that's how Gilberto was saying. People like to sugarcoat the history and honor that part. So when is our time to change and tell our story? And then we say we're like 2021, and we're still fighting all these things, And of course, in Baja and over here too in San Diego, and all there's a lot of racism, racism, and then ¿cómo dijiste tú, Javi? Habías dicho algo que me gustó, me acuerdo. I don't remember what part he said, but I really like it. But yeah, it was so, it was about that, like people don't have the opportunity to talk about really the real history about what happened. And then, so anyway, so I think we are like, I say, yeah, everyone knows the history, right? What happened to our people, the intent of genocide and to our culture and language and stuff like that. But I think we're a very strong nation. We're a very strong nation. Thank you to that. We're still here. Our people, thank you to our ancestors, we're still here. And then, and one of the things too that I would like to share too, it was when we're like fighting against the border wall, we have people from Baja come and support, and we took over the borderline over there, and we have not any line between us. We're one single nation as a family all together, and we have people from both sides of the border. We have the military, we have the border patrol, we have immigration. We have all these legal organizations with guns pointing at us. And you know what? I was very proud because I'm sorry, guys, but I was very proud of my people because we have a lot of elders. They came from Baja, and they told us, it's a cemetery. And those people, they're no longer here with us. And it was people from Nehi. Someone elders, she just passed away last year. Norma was there. We all there. And then just to see, what the government from both sides of the border are doing to our nation. We have the government from Mexico. They did nothing. They destroyed a lot of nature in there, a lot of sacred sites in there. And where is the government from Mexico? They didn't move a finger to preserve those sites. And on this side we fight against Trump to stop that border wall. But we're still fighting, and I'm just saying we empower a lot of people on both sides of the border, and I think it's time to stop, all this sugarcoating, all these things, It's time for removing all the statues. It's not only in California or Baja California, it's all around the world, and Native communities, they sugarcoat the history, and it's time to stop this. I don't know how we would do it, but we're still fighting for that. So far, we have the group Kanapwahan. We are part of that group, and we already changed a few names of different schools. We removed the Columbus status in Chula Vista legally, and then we're working. We're working very hard to change the history. And I'm just saying, I'm very thankful and very proud of my people because it's thousands and thousands of years, and we're still here. And the knowledge we have, this is for thousands of years. And not only the Kumeyaay people, but all the nations too. And having opportunities like this, I think will make us stronger and be all united, no matter what, no matter who you are. We all together as a human nation. It's time to honor our people, to our ancestors that, we're still here because that. And a lot of the things that, the people are using, that's our native knowledge. A lot of the medicines, a lot of the healing, there's thousands of knowledge that we need to honor that. And I think if we all work together, we can make the change. Because otherwise, they would destroy all the nature, all the world. I mean, you see it right now with the global warming and all this stuff. And having leadership like, the last administration was, they would not even living in global warming, and not respecting the laws already to protect native nations and all the laws. It was for us to protect our sacred sites. And we have a law, And in Mexico and Baja California, we don't have a lot to protect those sacred sites. That's why it's very important to empower our people so they can fight and have a law to protect our sacred sites. Because all the money they make using our spaces, our sacred spaces, they go back to the government. In our communities, they're still the same. So I think it's time to make a change. And that's what I'm saying. I'm very proud of the people who are working very hard to be there, because it was not an easy thing. The border wall, it was just a little thing, a very little thing that we had to do over there. But we demonstrate the government. We don't even care. We don't care Mexico. We don't care United States. We came one solid nation, and nothing was in the middle of us. Nothing was. Just the sage, our prayers, and our songs. And a lot of native nations from different people who came and support us too. A lot of people. And I'm very thankful for those people. Even though they're not even native people, they come and support us because it's not their business, but they come and support. And I think we're very thankful for those people too. Thank you. Yeah, Johan.
Uh-huh. So I just wanted to say one more thing. Was, Kumeyaay and Baja and Kumeyaay on this side of the border, we're the same people. We're native people. And that border does not define us as a people. You have heard Kumeyaay members here who speak the language. One of the things that we have is our language is in danger of going extinct or dormant, according to the United Nations 9 factors of language vitality and endangerment. And one of the things that we're doing together, we're working together to develop a program bringing both speakers from Baja and the United States. The beginning of January, we're going to be doing a 1-month intensive immersion program, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for 1 month. The goal of this program is for the participants to be able to speak our language comfortably in conversation for at least 1 hour. If they can speak for 1 hour, they can speak 5 hours. They can speak 10 hours. This is something that we are doing when our people come together. Our people spirit, our people are strong. We are reversing language shift. We have people like Paul Cuero here, who's a song leader, taught many people how to sing Tokok. We have other people here, Jamie, who's been picking up that rattle. Every time he's called, he goes out there to sing. Mike Conley, who has developed our history course so that our history, the true history, is told. Not what we hear from, academia, but our own people, our own scholars do this. Ladies and gentlemen, to me, this is an exciting time because we're empowering our nation. We are not allowing the border to control us.
I want to say something.
Okay.
No, you will?
Sure, yeah. Okay. What I was going to say was, as we come together and Gilberto's grandmother was the one that came up with the analogy of our culture being a askai, a clay pot that was shattered, and that each community had a piece of that clay pot. But when we come together and we grind those shards back into powder, that's our past. When we bring in new clay and grind that up, that's a present. We put it together and we make a stronger askai pot. That is our future. We have that as a people. And I said before, when we speak our language, that is resistance. When we sing our songs, that is resistance. When we know our culture, that is resistance. When we can go back and forth across another person's border, not our border, and interact with each other as equals, that is resistance. And, we can take a look at all the fighting. Our people fought. Our people burned down missions. Our people resisted. They resisted back then, we resist today, and we will continue to resist, because this is for our children, our grandchildren, for our future.
I would just want to share that we're working together too to have our Kumeyaay flag to represent all the Kumeyaay reservations on both sides of the border. And then, that's another big thing too, to have only one solid nation all together, even don't care about the border wall, So now we can talk to the government nation to nation. And then, we still have a lot of work to do, but we're still fighting for our rights. Yeah, Han. Thank you. Any questions, comments?
I was going to ask Mike.
I think, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jamie.
Oh, no, I just hope that, well, thank you for your spirit and thank you for all the work you're doing. I just hope that one day that we can look at that wall not being there, that we can get into a pass and repass for our family. I know before my mom left, she asked if I could get for family, our family from the Huerta to come out from the Baja community, so she could see him one last time because she couldn't travel down there. So I look forward to working on with the governments and eliminating that wall, because that wall is like an open wound between our homeland, right?
Yeah.
Our homeland extends 100 miles south, 100 miles north from ocean to desert, but yet that wall is like a wound because it separates our families.
Yeah.
It prevents our families from seeing each other. And I hope that one day that our family from Baja can come here and visit their family on this side without being stopped at that wall. Because it is unceded territory. It is our homeland.
Yeah.
And it actually breaks my heart knowing that I can go down there and come home, but why can't they come home up here?
Yeah.
And so I will look forward to one day having that rectified and corrected with our government. Because we are a nation, we are a powerful people. And we do have a voice, and together, I feel that this will come to fruition for our people, to connect our families again, once together. That 16 bands, that flag represent one homeland for all of us.
Yes.
Anyone else? Yes.
She was the Shakapi.
It's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Hang on for one moment. I'm sorry.
it's okay.
Okay.
Just thank you all. Obviously you bring up a lot of things. I really appreciate the unifying flag. I think that's a symbol, like a physical symbol, right, of the way we unify as a people. I pray that same thing for our Pirikou people, that we stop thinking of ourselves as individual nations, because we are not individual nations, and we're stronger, obviously, if we work together. I work in education, right, trying to bring equity and equality to our Native students, and we talk to our students about resistance as well, and I'm just wondering, how you frame that. So when the school says to me, what is it you're resisting, right? And I'm like, our inevitable extinction, right? That's what that's what was supposed to happen.
Yes.
So I feel like that's what we're resisting.
Simulation, yeah.
Yes, and so I'm just wondering if you have like advice for when, because our district wants to keep our programs out of their school because of this kind of language that we use with our young people, feeling that we're radicalizing them when we're just trying to empower them and keep them alive, right? So like, what would be your advice to that?
Okay.
No, Michelle.
Well, I would just want to make this comment. I think, like you say, whenever time we speak our language, sing or dance our songs, that's a way of, getting away from assimilation too, and also working to have the respect to the culture and to the language to our nations. Like, for example, Kumeyaay Community College, all the knowledge is about, our culture and our language. And now different universities need to respect that because this is knowledge for thousands and thousands of years. They need to be respected. And then because if we just go to the Western education and we don't do our education, we're lost. We'll be already, do the assimilation, and I think education is not only the Western education, but our education as a Native people, our way of life as a Kumeyaay people. We have a lot of values and a lot of, a lot of things that the way of life of Kumeyaay people live, you cannot find it in any other university, but you can find it with your elders, with your people. And then, so like I said, you can go to the more expensive university, you will not get that knowledge, that you will get it from your people, and that's the way of our life, right?
Yeah, that's smart.
I don't know.
Thank you. Wow.
Egan?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit. You mentioned coming together as one nation, many bands, many groups coming together as one nation. Can you explain some of the protocols around that? Like, how do you guys make decisions together as a nation?
Yeah, I can do.
Oh.
One of the things I see, like how people are like organizing as a Kumeyaay reservations. There are people getting in committees, right? We have like KDLC, KHPC, so there are different committees for different things like education, culture, protection of the land, and the sacred sites and stuff like that. And it's all the reservation coming together as a one group and take decisions for the whole nation, right, you guys? You guys don't, so that's how we come together. And for us, like we have the group Tipe Hua, and we're trying to do the same thing. We come together, like people from both sides of the border, and also people who want to support us too. And then so we can do movements on both sides of the borders too, especially right now, helping the communities in Baja. Because now with the COVID, our reservations over there are having a hard time. So we're trying to help with health, education, and culture. And then every year we go to take donations over there, like cleaning supplies and gifts and stuff like that in December for the families over there. And working together too for the education so the youth can have scholarships and stuff like that. And then right now, we just come back from Mexico City, me and Norma and Gregorio, and we get a certificate for via language interpreters and do evaluations on the Kumeyaay language. And then working with the general director of the Language Institute, we're trying to do some MOUs right now with them. So the people in the Baja, they have language programs in the communities. So that's some of the stuff we're working right now to help us to keep going with our culture and language and stuff like that. But that's what I'm saying. The more support we have and more united we'll be, that will be better for our people. And maybe not for us, but for the youth, for the kids that are coming. That's, we need to make sure they have resources and things so they can keep going.
We're also working, Kumeyaay Community College is working with our counterparts in Baja to start up a sister school, a sister tertiary institution And that's taking time, but we want to develop educational opportunities for our counterparts in Baja to, to move on, to make it to preparatoria, go into the university and be success stories so they can come and help out their communities. So again, the border is basically a speed bump for us. We just need to keep going through it. And as we continue going, we develop capacity, we make capacity, we're strong.
Kind of follow up. Is this, Kumeyaay Nation coming together, is this something that you see, expanding across California?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh.
Lo voy a preguntar en español.
Ajá.
Pues hoy en día con los avances en nuestra sociedad es bien fácil para los jóvenes caerse en asimilación. ¿Qué hacen ustedes específicamente para promover ese orgullo cultural en sus jóvenes?
Ok, yo puedo contestar. Oh, ¿cómo?
Yo he aprovechado mucho en cuestión de asimilación en cuanto a la edad, el uso de la tecnología, Facebook, Instagram. Me he dado cuenta que desde mi espacio, la reacción, todo el movimiento es a nivel cultural. Si yo hago una actividad fuera de la cultura, no se mueve en redes sociales, es muy poco. Entonces lo que nosotros decimos, si tú quieres, pues bueno, son jóvenes, son muchachos, trabajen con cultura y difundan su cultura. Eso los va a salir a que se den a conocer. Es lo que a mí me ha funcionado y a mis compañeros les ha funcionado. O sea, utilizar las nuevas tecnologías como tal para poderle, ahora sí que inculcarle, mira, trabaja con cultura. Eso en cuanto a tecnología, ¿no? Pero ya en la profundidad, pues es decir, mira, tenemos un territorio muy amplio. Vámonos, agarramos el vehículo y vámonos al monte, a caminar, a platicar, a imaginar, y conéctate de nueva cuenta con lo que es tuyo, con lo que es de nosotros, ¿no? Vamos a veces muchos lugares, en lugares privados, donde nos dicen, bueno, es que no pueden entrar porque no es su territorio, no está a posición. No, les decimos, este es territorio Kumeyaay, este es territorio de los pueblos indígenas, al menos en Baja California. Y lo que hacemos es que se vengan, poquito, 1, 2, no ocupamos mucho porque genera un gasto. Con 1 o 2 personas o jóvenes o niños que se involucre, con eso damos ahora sí que se sienta la actividad, pues, aprovechar al máximo, es decir, mira, regresen, esto es lo que hay, lo que es nuestra historia. Aquí pasaron gente, aquí está una piedrita, está un metate, eso es de nuestra gente, esa es historia, esa es tu historia, ¿no? Recalcarle que es parte de esta tierra, que es parte de este territorio.
Tengo una pregunta sobre la misión que vamos a visitar mañana. ¿Esa misión de San Miguel era la misión que tuvo un impacto en la comunidad de ustedes también? ¿O era una misión, tenía una misión más cerca del Tecate que era?
Eso está cerca de mi comunidad. Está a 27 kilómetros de la costa. Entonces, pues ahí tenían muchos Kumeyaay de diferentes comunidades. Entonces fue que por eso quisieron destruir la misión y para que saliera toda la gente libre de ahí. Ajá. Y pues nomás hay unos pedacitos de pared ya. Ajá.
En Baja California era la misma historia que como en Alta California, que mucha gente de diferentes pueblos indígenas habían transportado o capturado por diferentes.
Sí, justo. Marta, también decir el impacto de las misiones, ¿no? Recordemos que tanto las comunidades y reservas son relativamente nuevas. Cuando llegaron las misiones, nuestra gente se empezó a esconder, o sea, el impacto fue desde ahí, porque en realidad anteriormente no existía ni un Ejí, ni un San Antonio Necua, ni la Zorra, ni la Huerta, no, eran libres. Acuérdense, los clanes, los recorridos, el impacto fue el ya no poder generar esos recorridos. Desde ahí viene pues el impacto que generó.
So Gilberto's talking about how, like, before we don't have reservations, which is, people living in different areas. And then, so when the Spaniards came, that's when people started moving into the mountains, because they were moving out away from the mission. And that's why, but our people, is from the ocean, in that area. But if you guys notice, mostly it's inland right now, and that's the reason why with some of the missions, that was one of the reasons.
But one of the things I just wanted to say, too, is that Martha's family were one of the last families that would go in the springtime out by La Misión to go and gather salt and harvest mussels and do a lot of the traditional things that our people have done out by the ocean. So her family were keepers of that knowledge too. I just want to share that. Martha used to do that when she was young.
Yeah, it was. You can go travel free to not that free, but yeah, at least it was not buildings like now. Just go to the ocean and go fishing and get mussels and stuff like that. Spend like 1 or 2 days over there and go back to the reservation. Now, and it's everything private properties. Now they have a big walls and a big houses over there. So I mean, we cannot do it anymore. Because everything is private property now. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I think that, what a lot of people don't understand is that, like Stan was saying that, on our side, we're losing a lot of our language. When I was a young boy, my great-grandmother knew a lot of people on the other side because they would interact all the time. And once she passed away, we kind of lost those ties. So when I was a boy, there used to be 3 men that used to come up every summer or all through the year. And they would come up and they would stay with my grandmother and they would tell them what was happening on the other side. And then he would stay with us, with my grandmother, and then he'd go back and tell them what was happening on this side. And we don't have those people that are doing that anymore. And now, like I said, our old people died off. It's the younger generation where we have this gap now, where, and now we have a language barrier because we're not speaking our language and we don't speak Spanish and they don't speak English. And so that's where we're trying to overcome these things again and start to unite, because at one time in the 50s is when they put that border up and they really started to make it where you couldn't cross. It used to be people would walk back and forth all the time, but once they finally put that border up, it really put up and stopped our people from going back and forth, because where I live, we're close to the border. And so there was a lot of our people that were going back and forth, and like I said, so they knew a lot of people over there at one time. And now we're at that point where we're talking to people and we're saying, oh yeah, my grandmother talked about these people. Like I had some guys come up and they were showing me how some of the older people got baptized over here. And my grandparents were like the godparents. And I'm like, of course they died before I was born, but I seen their signatures there and I'm like, hey, these are my grandparents. They were the godparents of these people. So there was at one time a lot of interaction, but like I said, once that border got up there in the 50s, that's when that interactions kind of stopped. And that, like I said, up until the late 70s, when those men were still walking up here and telling and talking about what was happening on the other side, who passed, what was going on, and like I said, on this side, then he would go back and tell them who passed on this side. So there used to be these 3 men that used to walk all the time. And when I was a young boy, they'd come walking out of the bushes. And I'd be like, oh, they're here. They'd be sitting there and they'd be sitting there with my grandmother telling them all what was happening on that other side. So we don't have that, like I said, now, and we need to get that connection again, because now we don't have that connection. It's like, we're like, oh, we don't really know them, but reality is we're all related. There's a lot of marriage between all those different villages, and so we just got to get back to those roots again. And there's so much that, like what we say over there, they have a lot that we don't have over here, and we have some stuff over here that they don't have over there. And now it's time to start exchanging those things again. And you know, so we become like Stan said, we become this pool pot again. You know, because everybody has pieces of it. We just got to pull it together. And we're slowly doing that. You know, it's my tribe was one of the first ones that went down there, was helping them with water, and you know, so we are trying to, you know, bring these things together again. Hopefully, you know, and it's just got bigger. It's slow, but it's been snowballing. It's been rolling. It's getting bigger and bigger, and hopefully that again we'll have that. You know, help them with their issues and help us with our issues again. Because there's one of our old people told me, you know, they were kind of going through right now what we went through in the 50s. And so we kind of know how to, because we survived that. So now we need to go down there and help them with those kind of issues, because like Martha's saying, there's still a lot of rights they don't have. Where that's the same thing we had on this side, but we fought and we changed some of those things, and that's what we need to be doing on that side with our people, is helping them change those things as well, making sure that they're keeping their land and you know, because they're constantly fighting over that too, for their to hold on to it. You know, so again, it's just that. Bringing these our people together to say, hey, on this side we did that fight already. Let us help you with that fight.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. And I just want to say thank you, Paul. Oh, sorry, Shuya, because when we were like at the border wall, Campo, you know, they was supporting us a lot, and they sent them a big machine to clean up the area, because the border patrol, they were closing the roads all the time for us to go to the border wall. And then they sent a big machine so they cleared up the space, because the reservation go very close to the border. And then there were some people that want to jump in the big machine and like to stop it and be like, no, you guys, I'm cool, I'm with you guys. You know, I say thank you. I'm sorry,
Well, Martha, first I just want to say thank you for your tears. You know,
Oh, thank you.
To be at a conference, we prepare and write and bring that humanity. It's a lot of weight, you know, to be out there all the time. So, just wanted to say thank you. Para ustedes también quería preguntarles, por ejemplo, yo soy Kashkan y nos organizamos en los 1930, nos volvimos a organizar en 1980, la generación de mi papá. Y por ejemplo, nosotros en la área de Zacatecas y de Durango tenemos mucho problema con el INA. Y muchos de los problemas tienen que ver que no son los mismos cascanes que 1500 y corren. Entonces, está siempre este tema de que no son los mismos originales de antes. No sé si ustedes han tenido este problema en nosotros Kumiai. Nosotros, por ejemplo, somos 14 rancherías en la nación de nosotros. Y esto para nosotros es muy difícil porque Lina está a cargo de muchos lugares sagrados que pues, ya no tienen como propiedad federal. Y por ejemplo, estoy escribiendo mi historia, pero tengo que brincar fences y eso ilegalmente para tratar de adquirir estos lugares sagrados. No sé si tienen este mismo...
Tenemos igual el mismo problema, pero acá, por ejemplo, el principal difusor del proyecto del Camino Real de Misional es el Instituto Nacional de Antropología e Historia. Es el principal actor que ha difundido y que ha pretendido generar este proyecto desde ya hace algunos años, no es nuevo. O sea, los hay. Sí se encuentran las áreas protegidas, que son vallecitos y otras pinturas rupestres. Sí se encuentra con ese problema, pues, con este instituto y con otros, ¿no? Yo mismo ahora estoy trabajando como funcionario en gobierno y es muy difícil porque todas las políticas públicas de México van dirigidas a los grupos mayoritarios, es decir, al sur de nuestro país. Oaxaca, Chiapas, Veracruz, Yucatán. O sea, esos son los pueblos indígenas mayoritarios que tienen 20,000 hacia arriba. O sea, cuentan votos, pues. Nosotros, desafortunadamente, para ello no contamos votos. 250 en Ejí, 250 en La Huerta, 300 más o menos. O sea, relativamente las políticas públicas están creadas para grupos enormes, grupos grandes. Y sí lo seguimos en la misma problemática.
I have a question from Emily.
Yeah.
Emily Chan?
Emily Chan, yes. So she asked, how can our next generations move away from the Digueño way of thinking? Is it possible for elders to do that too?
Who's she asking?
Paul?
The panel.
Porque aquí mucha gente, es que diegueños es como el nombre de esclavo que les dieron a la gente aquí, pues los diegueños. Dice, pero ¿cómo las jóvenes pueden moverse de decir eso, diegueños? Que no quiere decir no. ¿Cómo puede ser?
Comunidad. Es como el grupo lingüístico, ¿no, Mar?
No, es que diegueño es el nombre del esclavo. Pues.
Ajá. Diegueños.
Pues yo creo que somos una cultura. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say,
I would say I think we're like an evolving culture, you know, and then so everything we're like, you know, coming different things. But I think we need to respect the elders. You know, that's because when that happened, you know, they put a lot of fear in our people. Or you go to the church or you go to hell, right? So a lot of people are scared to that. And what can we do? I mean, just respect their feeling and their fears right now, you know. But now, you know, new generations, you know, we know what happened. You know, we see how our people suffer and we want to make a difference in the new generation. So I think we should be like very strong and be like, hey, no, we're Kumeyaay or we're Ipai Tipai. You know, but we need to respect our elders and that part too.
and it comes down to a personal choice that everybody makes.
Yeah.
You know, and my elders, and I've heard them talk like that. I've heard them say, you're Digueño. And out of respect for them, because they're my elders, I'm not going to correct them. That's what they learned. My father used to call himself that. My aunts and uncles call themselves that. That is their way. But as we continue to indigenize ourselves, decolonize ourselves, you're seeing that change. And you've heard it, I've heard it, and again, it takes time.
Yeah, for myself, for example, I like to call myself a nation instead of a tribe. It's more powerful. We're just saying Kumeyaay more often than Digueño, correct? I know we used to be called the Sequon Band of Mission Indians, and they were able to change that to the Kumeyaay Nation, and it just felt more like us, our identity. And the more we incorporate that, the more we teach our Kumeyaay Community College and offer those classes, not just for our own people, but outside the community too, so it makes us that much stronger. So I think, like you said, it's like citing your information. Like Stan, I was telling someone earlier that we should cite our own sources, such as Dr. Paul Cuero, Dr. Stan Rodriguez, Mike Conley, who are all writing books. It's important for our people to really start citing our resources instead of outside. A lot of our people don't even look at us being the right ones, right? Or no, they know more, for example. So I think that all ties together. It's Digueño, Kumeyaay, our information that's out there, nation, tribal. I think all these things are that once we start using them, it becomes normal, it becomes part of our vocabulary.
Yeah, I think.
Making change.
Yeah, I think learning the vocabulary is very important right now too. You know, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm very proud I'm Native American," but what is really American? You know, so I think it's very important to read those lines because you know it's a message behind that. So that's what I would like to say. I'm Kumeyaay. You know, and that's it. I'm Kumeyaay. Or whatever nation.
Question to ask, and I don't know if it's too far outside with the panel discussion, but it is about our spirit, right? What does Native American Heritage Month mean to you? What does it mean? Because I'm going to be doing a video and I didn't know how to answer that. I know I'd rather reframe it and say, I'd rather answer that as what does it mean to be Kumeyaay, right? But what does that mean to this panel, to be Native American? What does Native American mean to you?
That's what I'm saying. That's a very, very big vocabulary that I don't like to use because, you know, they have the meaning behind of that. What is Americano? Well, that come from Spain, right? So in a way, you're kind of like honoring that, you know? So that's what I'm like, no, I'm Kumeyaay. That's what our people told me, you know, that's our people, that's what we are. That's what, like, there's a lot of words that the Spaniards put over here that people are using right now, we're not knowing what is the meaning behind. You know what I mean? So it's just...
I think that you have to look at it in a sense that
¿Verdad?
it's,
Dice que quiere que decir nativo americano.
this is something that's coming to the mainstream. And why? It's because we're pushing it forward. You know, and it's unfortunate that we don't have a lot of our people push it, but there's very few people out there that are putting these things in the forefront and reminding people. And that's why you see now they're saying, okay, we'll do Native American Month. And it's because what we're doing as people, we're pushing these things forward, we're putting it into their face and saying, no more, this is who we are. So it's actually because of the work that people before us and that we're trying to do ourselves are really putting it out there, and we're changing that. And so it's really, you know, something that we push forward. Just like, you know, we're seeing a lot of these laws change when it comes to remains. It's because what we're pushing forward. And now we're finally, we have a voice and we have a little bit of money that's pushing it forward. We're saying these things are important to us, and you must start recognizing this. And that's what, and the truth of the matter, when people really start to see, they start to see, yeah, that's right. What had happened here is wrong. But it's again explaining it. You can't go out there with a big stick and beat people. What you need to take it and say, look what's happening here. Do you think this is right? And most people, when they see it, they'll say, no, it's not right. What you're doing is right. Keep moving forward. And that's what happens. And that's why, you know, it's so important that our college take off. You know, so it's teaching our own people, because like you're saying, we've been told this is who you are. I remember when I was a boy, when Kumeyaay was first coming back to our reservation, and my parents were like, no, we're not Kumeyaay. And my grandmother, great-grandmother, sat down and said, that's what we used to call it a long time ago. It's just because it's something that they didn't hear, they right away said, no, that's not it. But when somebody sat there and explained it to them, yes, it's even in our language. So, I mean, so again, it kind of opened their eyes to it too, and then they finally started to get on board with it. But it was something new to them too. They were like, you know, I'm not Kumeyaay, I'm Degeno. But again, it was somebody sat down and said, no, this is an older word than that. This is what we did call ourselves. And so again, it's our people explaining it, putting it forward to them. And that's what we have to keep doing. And we had some elders that died, died as Degeno. But it's the younger people that are pushing it now. Yeah. So like now, a lot of them at my reservation, they'll tell you Kumeyaay. Nobody talks about Degeno no more. But it took a shift. It took many years for that to happen. And now it's happening. Now everybody out of my reservation will tell you, we're Kumeyaay. We're Degeno. There's very few people that are still left that will say, I'm Degeno. But most will say, I'm Kumeyaay, because it's the push that we push forward. And that's what we just got to keep doing. So when we look at these things, it's because what we push forward. It's not because they're giving it to us, or they're it's because what we're saying, no, we're pushing it forward. And we need people like that to keep doing this. So like this panel here, what they're doing is giving us history, giving us that foundation to say, oh, yes, I see now, I understand. I'm hearing some of these stories. So that, again, you know, like I said, even with this critical mission thing, you know, even though we're putting it together, we still need that audience, and we still need to explain it to the outside community so they get a wherewithal to say, yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's really a time to find our voice, right? You know, when I came in this morning, I thought I was just going to sing the songs and probably leave, but seeing who was here, I said, this is very important. But I saw this as being one of many things is what Native American Heritage Month means, right? Find your voice, talk
Yeah.
about these issues that are within our nation that you talked about in Baja still. Like Paul, you were saying, we've learned over here, now it's time to take what we learned here and take it to Baja. And hopefully we could rectify or bring more prosperity down there like we did for our people on this side, right? Just bring that voice, finding your voice. And that's what I found today, so I want to thank you, the panel, and thank the conference itself. And Paul, thank you.
And you know, what we take down to Baja, we're also getting from Baja.
Yes.
I mean, the basket makers, the pottery makers, all that knowledge I got from down there. I learned from the people down there. They sat down, they taught me. And you know, it's like that saying, knowledge without sharing is not really knowledge.
Right.
And when we share together, we grow strong together. And like when we were talking about Kumyai, up at San Isabel, I still have some of my elders, oh, here comes that Kumyai again. And I'm like, putting on my asbestos underwear, here we go again. But, you know, I'm still stand fast, you know, this is what I am. You know, it's Pawimpayo, it's just the way it is.
And we're family.
We are family.
We're family. My uncle's buried in La Huerta, and I know when I took this to my people, we were raising some donations last year to take down there. I was able to take that to my family, to my community, but because they haven't been part of it, they don't realize that they have actually have a real family down there. So I took it to our general counsel one time. I was saying, this is not just my family, it's your family too. These are your relatives. So we really look forward to having the Wind Bazaar this next month up here at Siwan, so we can continue to build those bridges.
And also, on the 21st of December, the winter solstice in La Rumarosa in Baja.
Is that good to go this year, Stan?
Mike, we're going to go.
I need to check if it's open yet.
La Rumarosa.
No COVID restrictions?
We'll
check
just,
it out.
Okay.
we'll bundle.
Okay.
Okay, it snows up there sometimes. Just one. Okay. Ya pomoć machad. My pechad, nasom. A what?
What's your child?
Ahan.
What?
Ahan. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, hon.
As we say, as we used to say at the San Isabel Reservation, former home of the 495 prime rib, we're done.